Some stories, they don't start with heroes. They begin with a whisper, a manipulation, a prophecy planted centuries before the first frame of the film. Now, some films, they get described as having a lived-in feel or a well-established universe. And that whole concept, all of those films, they start right here. It all starts right here. Dune is not just a sci-fi epic, it's a myth about myth-making, and the violent cost of stories told a little too well. Paul Atreides is not a chosen one. He's the manufactured product of a 1,000-year genetic script written by a matriarchy obsessed with control. Paul isn't the fulfillment of prophecy. He's the punchline in a pre-written story who takes on the mantle of prophecy by surrendering to it. Not in freedom, but in fear, in survival, in a blood-drenched need for revenge. The Bene Gesserit don't believe in destiny. They manufacture it with psychological and emotional manipulation, with bloodline tinkering and planted legends inside deliberately oppressed cultures. It's religious colonization disguised as revelation, which asks so many questions about belief and how it shapes cultures, the susceptibility of superstition to outside manipulation, and the question of whether anything is destined or everything is under our control, if only we're cunning enough. But at the very core, the underlying myth that Dune challenges is, what if our saviors are weapons? Paul Atreides is not a hero, but everyone thought he was because he's the protagonist who scores a victory, and that annoyed Herbert. It's said to be the reason why he wrote the second book, Dune Messiah, that it was to put people straight on this because people misunderstood this crucial point, and Herbert wanted to make sure everyone knows, no, Paul is not the good guy, which is very likely why Villeneuve changed the ending in the movie in Dune Part 2. There is a myth at the core of the human psyche that someone's coming to save us and they'll be a good guy. We long for messiahs, and it's the danger of that longing and its openness for abuse that Herbert was warning us about. In Dune, the desert, Arrakis, it becomes a crucible, and Paul, torn between his royal birth and his mother's whispered training and the desperate situation he's in, he walks into that crucible not as a conqueror but as a question mark. His blood-stained visions, they're not dreams, they're warnings. He sees a crusade a galaxy-wide culling of humans, a fanatical war waged in his name. He sees Fremen warriors chanting his name like a curse and a prayer. He's terrified, but he keeps walking towards it. Why? Well, because prophecy doesn't need to be true to work, and he sees that. It needs to be believed, because belief is the most dangerous power in the galaxy, more than any technology. And Frank Herbert knew this, and Villeneuve honours it. David Lynch, not quite so much. There's no comfort in Dune. There's no easy path. This is a story about what happens when myth is weaponized and truth dies in the desert. The symbolic spice, it's not just a drug, it's awareness incarnate. It shows you what's coming and makes you powerless to stop it. Like Louise in Arrival, check out last week's video, Paul sees the circle. He sees the whole circle, but unlike her, he sees all the possible circles, all the possible futures, and chooses the least horrific one, even though he fears it. This future, he can't break it, and so he becomes it. The moment Paul truly uses the voice, that power to control others, and not just speaks it but owns it, uses it with purpose, in that moment the myth ignites. His future as Messiah crystallizes, not because he wants it, but because he can no longer outrun it. This is not a hero's journey. This is a myth collapsing. And like I said, if you're watching closely, Dune isn't asking you to root for Paul. It's asking you to question every story you've ever accepted as fate. It's so powerful. This is truly great sci-fi. So what's the real myth at the core of humanity that this story is challenging, forcing you to think again about? Well, it's that salvation is pre-written, that some bloodlines are chosen, more special than others, that voices from power should not be questioned, that the narrative belongs to those who inherit it, and the rest of us just have to accept it and serve our masters, longing for one of them to save us. Well, Exuno says no. We don't inherit myths, we build them. We don't wait for false saviors. We become the myth makers ourselves. We refuse to accept narratives, futures that are sold to us by those in power. Dune is a warning for those who will listen. It's a mirror for those brave enough to see it. It's a signpost to the truth that someone else's prophecy only works if you're not brave enough to write your own. So join our mythos. Don't just watch from your throne. Build from the sand. This is sci-fi for grown-ups. This is ex uno. So add your voice. Reshape the prophecy. Like this video if it tickled your fancy. Subscribe for more and comment below. Am I wrong? Am I right? What mythology should I tackle next? And with that, dear viewer, see you next time. And thank you so much for listening.